What's up, everybody, man? Back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today it's finally time. Today we will be ending off the Godzilla -1 novelization. In this video, I'll cover the last 50 details which were either revealed through the Godzilla -1 novelization, or changes made from the novelization to the movie, or things that weren't included in the film, things that didn't make the final cut, including details on how Godzilla is the true ultimate victim of this movie in ways which you may not realize, but he sure does. Really quickly, before we get into it, subscribe now. This channel is growing so fast. Join now as we are on the road to 101,000 subscribers, on our journey to 101,954 subs, so we can be D-Man 11954. That'd be pretty sick. So subscribe now. I really appreciate all of the support, and thank you for all the support on these novelization videos. I really appreciate it. That's right, in this video we will be picking up where we left off in the last one. This is the third part in the series where we are covering all the differences from the novelization to the film, as well as all the hidden details revealed throughout, by talking about everything that happens in Act 3. So in this one, we're picking up with the radiation buoys detecting Godzilla all the way through the end of the film. Really quickly, once again, the Godzilla -1 novelization was written by the director, writer, and VFX supervisor of Godzilla -1, Takashi Yamazaki. He hails this as the true canon version of Godzilla -1. It is the extended cut of the story. Whenever Yamazaki's asked questions about the deeper meanings of -1 or how did blank happen, well, a lot of the time he'll turn to the novelization for the answer. So let's do the same and jump on into it. Starting out, it's first revealed that the Toyo Balloon Company, which is the balloon company that exists in the -1 universe, they're the ones that create the big inflatables, their installation of their gear had a complication, delaying them. And that's why they need to join the ships for the 3-hour trip from Yokosuka to the trench in order to fight Godzilla. This was also something that I didn't really think about until reading this novelization, and so I looked it up, but it's a little hard to tell in the movie that they actually have to sail around the Miura Peninsula to get from Yokosuka to the Sagami Trench. It's likely that the land we see in the background in Godzilla -1 in the distance is actually the Boso Peninsula, or Oshima Island. However, Godzilla himself actually makes landfall off the sea of Enoshima Island. This is stated directly in the novelization. That's where he kicks down that bridge. It's revealed in the novelization that Mizushima is actually the most nervous out of anybody to fight Godzilla due to his lack of battle experience. However, he does put on the face of confidence and truly means what he says about wanting to defend his country. Sumiko is aware that there's a plan being hatched in order to fight Godzilla, and she does know Shikishima's involved. So when he offers this very sincere moment to her, she realizes something deeper is going on and fears what Shikishima has planned for the future. Shikishima and Akiko have a much longer exchange in the novelization. First of all, she asks when Mom is coming home, and when Shikishima doesn't answer, she realizes that she said something that was upsetting. She then asks if Dad is okay, and Shikishima responds saying yes, and that he is her dad. It's directly acknowledged here, him taking the title of father. Takashi Yamazaki actually addressed this change specifically during the Godzilla -1 watch-along. I have a whole video on that if you want to go watch it, and in it he explains this line from the novelization was cut from the final edit of the movie simply because he thought Shikishima's actions spoke louder than his words, and he doesn't need to say everything out loud, but in the novelization he does specifically acknowledge himself saying, "Yes, I am your father." Akiko picks up on the sadness in this statement, and using the intuition that only children has, is what the novelization says, she figures out what might be going on and asks him directly if he's not coming home either. Shikishima tries to comfort Akiko, and when she can't quite explain why she feels that way and why she's upset, she begins to cry. This is the moment in the movie. As Shikishima holds her, he makes up his mind for a second time that his mission must succeed. This time he comes up with the plan in order to protect Akiko rather than avenge Noriko. Shikishima does not sleep the night before the attack. Instead, he watches Akiko sleeping, fearing that this will be the last time he ever gets to see her. He also specifically grabs the Odo Mechanics photos and Noriko's picture as he heads out. It's made clear that remembering Akiko by using the photo she drew is what gives Shikishima his final bit of courage to take on Godzilla. That's what stops him from shaking for the very last time. This is a detail that I noticed only while reading the novelization, but this is the only time throughout all of Godzilla -1 that Shikishima is fighting fighting for somebody other than himself. Obviously, Shikishima ditches his kamikaze mission for himself. He doesn't open fire on Godzilla mostly for himself. At sea, when Godzilla is attacking the Shinseimaru, he is fighting to save himself. And when he comes up with his initial plan to take on Godzilla, he comes up with it under the guise of getting vengeance for Noriko, aka fighting for himself. It is only in this moment that Shikishima finally sets himself aside and starts fighting for somebody else, in this case, Akiko. Another thing I noticed while reading the novelization is that Shikishima's note and money he gives to Sumiko is a direct parallel to her giving him the rice at the start of the movie. Both cases, they're giving the other person resources for Akiko. As the minesweepers are out at sea, more deep sea fish rise up as the buoys activate again, alerting them to Godzilla's direct presence. This does happen in the movie, but it's made a lot more clear in the novelization. The underwater speaker is a retooled speaker used during the actual war meant to throw off submarines. Godzilla hears his roar and winds up fearing that it's an invasion of his territory by a hostile force, and so Godzilla is actually on a defensive mission through the last act of this movie. The ship Godzilla throws into the harbor seems to collide with the building that they had met in the night before. That's the building that their little meeting took place in. This is another thing I love about the Godzilla -1 novelization, is that you can see just how deeply Takashi Yamazaki thinks about each and every detail put into -1. This is truly one of the most carefully crafted Godzilla films ever made. Slightly more attention to detail is paid to how Shikishima flies the Shinden. For instance, due to the way it's built, it's constantly being pulled to the left, and so Shikishima has to employ a counterbalance in order to counteract that. It's also specified here that as Godzilla makes landfall for the last time, he pays no attention to the humans. He's not there to destroy or kill them. He lands at the dock coming ashore on a mission, and perhaps he is still worried that his territory is being invaded from another Godzilla. Well, it's never stated what Godzilla's mission is. That's pretty clear given that that's the last thing we were told about him. As Shikishima flies off over the village, he pictures each house as having an Akiko, Noriko, and Shikishima in need of protecting. I think the order there is very important, as for the first time, Shikishima is fighting for Akiko first and foremost, and then the memory of Noriko, and finally himself. Godzilla's final attack actually happens in Kamakura, Japan. Shikishima is surprised by how he finds himself instinctively using some of the maneuvers from his original training in order to outrun Godzilla, specifically as it relates to dodging Godzilla's tail strikes. It's actually stated that Godzilla isn't injured by the Shinden, but rather he views it as a pest that needs to be exterminated as it keeps bothering him. When Godzilla sees the destroyers coming at him, we get another glimpse at how intelligent he is. He remembers the Takau's bombardment, how much it hurt, and how he had to use his atomic breath in order to defeat it. That's why Godzilla starts with his atomic breath this time around rather than waiting. He specifically learns from his mistakes. Once again, more incredible attention to detail from Takashi Yamazaki. It's pointed out that the naval ships only survive the nuke wave because they take on the wave the same way you take on a tsunami, head on as to not get rolled over. While people were aware of Godzilla's heat ray, no one had ever seen it. It's stated in the novelization that no one who saw it in Ginza survived other than Shikishima. The only people on Earth in the -1 universe who have seen Godzilla's atomic breath and lived are the Shinseimaru crew, so everybody else is truly in utter shock at how powerful it is, and the bomb isn't even as powerful as the one in Ginza. It seems the man who asks them to evacuate after the heat ray goes off is named Haruo, perhaps a reference to Haruo Nakajima, who played Godzilla in 1954. It's made clear that without the Shinden distracting Godzilla, he would have immediately sunk the Yukikaze as it started to circle him, as that was his primary target. Another incredible bit of attention to detail here. It's explained that the reason the Yukikaze has a crane on it and the Hibiki does not is because the crane is being specifically used to elevate the cable over the Hibiki as they wind up around each other. That way they don't wind up crashing into the cable, catching it, severing it, or getting looped around each other and destroying themselves. It's also why the destroyers need to be so close to each other in order to allow the lift of the crane to be enough to clear the ship. Godzilla is aware of the cable and is unsure what to do with it or what it means, but he is smart enough to know he is in immediate danger, which is why he begins to charge his beam again. It's also stated here, which I thought was pretty cool, that Godzilla actually doesn't feel the pressure change in the ocean until the Freon bubbles run out. He is covered in a protective coating until that point. Then all the water hits him at once, causing all the pressure change to happen instantaneously. This squeezes him so hard that he actually loses his charge and his dorsal plates are pressed back into his back. You can see that in the movie. It's explained here that Godzilla is particularly vulnerable through areas that have been previously injured and through the areas injured in his recent atomic blast. While Godzilla is being raised back to the surface, these are the areas that the pressure bubbles form in. From Godzilla's perspective. I loved this. It's a very small glimpse into how he sees the world that's explained that this is just yet another moment of intense suffering in such a short period of time caused by humanity. If you think about it from Godzilla's perspective, Godzilla has such a long lifespan. He's seemingly a prehistoric creature, and within, for him, the tiniest blip of time, he's been hit by a nuclear bomb and transformed into an abomination, blown up by the Takao. His own atomic breath continues to do damage to him, something he wasn't able to do before the humans infected him with radiation. And now this, Godzilla being sunk to the bottom of the ocean and raised up, causing him to bubble and blister and die. It's said here, and Noda fears, that Godzilla could either use his heat ray to erupt both the ships from under the sea at once, like he did with the Takao, or he could pull the cables, potentially sinking both of the ships or throwing them around, using their own methods against them. This is the reason Godzilla does not rise to the surface on his own accord, that and the fact that that would cause continued pressurization of him. Godzilla in the movie, you can actually see, continues to dive deeper as the counter begins to go backwards. This is why Godzilla would still be pressurized once he's pulled to the surface after the little time skip when all the tugboats show up. It's then said that if Godzilla winds up successfully destroying the destroyers, he would come on land with enormous wrath and burn everything to the ground. There would be no area left untouched by his devastation, and it would be scorched earth wherever he decided. Godzilla would take revenge. Maybe that is an indication of where we are heading in a Godzilla -1 sequel. Akitsu winds up calling himself Kishimojin of Iria after seeing Mizushima's tugboats pull up. Now, I don't know if this was just a mistranslation. Once again, I'm translating this myself, so some of these mistranslations are bound to happen. I looked it up. This seems to be an expression referring to the goddess of safe childbirth, parenting, and luck, so maybe he's saying he feels lucky and that he views Mizushima as a child of his, and he's like feeling lucky about Mizushima showing up. Maybe he's feeling like he raised him well and he's a fortunate parent. I don't know. This is something we did know from the movie itself. It's there in the film, you can see it, but it's directly stated and made obvious in the novelization that Godzilla himself looks like the deep sea fish which have risen up and their eyes have popped and they've all pressurized. Godzilla has become the thing he does to the fish. As the men see Godzilla and see the state he's in as he charges up his beam for the last time, they actually feel bad for him. It's stated that they feel as though this is a line that humanity should have never crossed. They feel like they're killing a god. Godzilla himself, as Takashi Yamazaki explains, would have died no matter what. If Shikishima didn't crash into Godzilla, Godzilla would have exploded the way he would have in 1995. Godzilla would have exploded and killed everybody in the area, including himself. It would have been horrible for everybody. As Noda is watching Godzilla's beam charge for the last time, he's trapped between feeling like I did everything I could and feeling that this can't happen. We've come too far. I just thought that was a really cool little moment inside of his head. This is another thing in the movie the novelization makes it much more explicit. It's stated that the Shinden already had German-made ejector seats installed in it. Tachibana, while he may have repaired those ejector seats, he is not the one who put them in for Shikishima's sake. However, him telling Shikishima that they are there, it was his decision. I kind of wish that it was something Tachibana had come up with and put in himself, as I think it would have hammered home the theme of forgiveness a little better, but I appreciate it nonetheless. It is still one of my favorite moments in the entire film. As Godzilla dies, the men salute him, not Shikishima. They salute Godzilla. And it's explained here that all of the men on the ship feel as though this is a final goodbye to all of those lost in the war, as Godzilla himself is the ultimate victim of World War II. Godzilla himself, for 3 years, has embodied the legacy of destruction and misery left behind by the war. You know how everyone freaked out when the Netflix dub for Godzilla -1 originally changed Noriko's line, "Is your war finally over?" to "Has this war of yours finally ended?" Something along those lines, and I said, well, hey, it could have been translated differently if the subtitles were translated differently. Well, the novelization translates it differently as well. When you translate it directly from the novelization, Noriko says, "Is Koichi's war over?" And then he says, yes, yes, and it plays out the rest of the way. "Is your war finally over?" I think is the best translation of that, but it's not the most direct. Just something I thought I'd throw out. It's also explained that the mark on Noriko's neck is actually something like a black bruise spreading through her skin. I also thought that was quite interesting. As for the final stinger in Godzilla -1, multiple chunks of Godzilla are explained to be sinking to the sea at the same time, but the largest of those chunks begins to regenerate. Does that hint to potentially more than one Godzilla regenerating in the future? I don't know. Godzilla's been shattered through Ginza, body parts of his has been recovered. It's also explained that Godzilla has multiple chunks floating around at sea, so maybe there's gonna be more than one Godzilla causing trouble in the next movie, or maybe they'll evolve into a different kaiju like an Anguirus or something, or a Titanosaurus, I don't know. But what I do know is that the final chunk regenerates the same way it does in the movie at the end of the novelization. That brings us to the end of the Godzilla -1 novelization. That is the 50 things you may have missed in the final act of the Godzilla -1 novelization. What are your thoughts on all this? I would love to hear it down below. Please comment and let me know. I love whenever we get these slight little glimpses into Godzilla's psychology, and I love knowing that Godzilla and everybody else views him as just this enormous victim, and that Godzilla is just like, if I get to come back from this, it's scorched earth, you're all done. I think it's going to be a really exciting thing if they play up upon that in the sequel for the movie. But again, I would love to hear your thoughts. Comment down below and let me know. As always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. It is through the support of the patrons on Patreon that I'm able to continue to make videos like this for you. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below, where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. And if that's not your thing, please consider joining as a channel member. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you all next time for the next one. D-Man out.